We're recording.
Have we been recording this whole time?
No, we just started.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't get the countdown. All right. Are we going from here? Are we starting?
I mean, we're already talking and we're live.
We're live. All right. I wanted to read you a nice message. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Now I have to fucking open up Instagram. No, it's great. It's really nice.
Yeah, but my live reactions are not always what we want. Okay. I'm here for it.
I got this Instagram DM yesterday for our listeners. Sometimes Ronnie has a hard job. I think you guys know that Ronnie has a hard job. And sometimes she needs a little pick-me-up in the middle of the week. So if we get a really nice message, I will send her a screenshot of the message because you guys are so great. Yeah.
And she's like,
oh my God, I needed this. But this one was really nice. So I thought, and I got it yesterday. So obviously it's not the middle of the work week. So I thought I would just read it out to you. So this is from Cameron Lamontagne. I don't know how you say your last name, Cameron.
We're so sorry, Cameron.
I thought it was Lamontage, and now I'm seeing an extra N in here, and I'm not sure. I thought it was Spanish. I'm thinking maybe it's French now. Not sure. Sorry. Anyway, Cameron L. She writes, Hey, y'all. I'm a day one fan of the pod. She says y'all, so I'm assuming she's Southern. Hey, y'all. I'm a day one fan of the pod. I found y'all when I picked up Fourth Wing, and then y'all inspired me to read ACOTAR. Now I'm starting the TOG tandem read. Strong arm. I love how y'all don't go chapter by chapter and can't thank you enough for helping me find a new passion for reading. Thanks for making my Mondays exciting. And then she does the party emoji, the party face emoji.
Aww.
I was like, aw, that's so sweet. Thank you.
We're so happy that we did that for you. That's actually more than we ever expected to do.
It warms my heart. It really warms. We also got, I don't know if you saw the email. Do you want me to read the email we got? We got an email. We got a great email. Okay. This is just going to be Abby and Ronnie.
This is actually just therapy for Ronnie, apparently, is how we're starting this podcast.
I saw a post on Instagram that's like, I'm the oldest. Ronnie is also the oldest, guys. And it's like, hey, oldest children, how's your praise kink going in your mid-30s? I'm like, oh, fuck. God damn it. That's what this is?
Wait, praise kink?
Praise kink, yeah.
Praise.
Yeah, like you get off on people praising you.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. Which...
Perfect. I mean, not wrong. It's going great.
Wrong.
Thank you for asking.
All right, so this is another email to support our praise kink. This is an email we got 3 hours ago from Germany, from Charlotte. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, Charlotte. But thank you for writing. It says, Dear Abby, dear Ronnie, I just want to say hi and tell you how much I truly love your podcast. I'm saving every week's episode for my long runs to keep me company as I'm training for my second half marathon at the moment. Charlotte, we're so proud of you.
Love a long run podcast.
We're also runners. We totally get it. You need a good podcast to get you through the long run. I'm touched that you've chosen ours. That's amazing. She says, you make the kilometers fly by. Also, I'm really excited for season 2 and your discussions about ACOTAR. Because of your podcast, I finally picked up Throne of Glass. So this is now 2 people who are reading Throne of Glass because of us.
Wow.
And I'm currently starting Queen of Shadows. So hopefully I won't have to miss out on your Maasverse theories for too long. Thank you both for creating something so fun, thoughtful, and full of energy. It really brightens my week. Sending lots of love and best wishes from Cologne, Germany, Charlotte. Parentheses, Charlotte.
Germany.
P.S. If you're ever in Germany, I would love to say hi in person. Charlotte, if we're ever in Cologne, we would love to say hi in person too.
We might just go to Germany just for the story at this point. Aww. I actually, I have started running to podcasts. I don't think podcasts were as much of a thing when we were in college running. We would have to run together, and so we would just talk to each other. But then, even when I was running solo in preseason, or before preseason rather, I don't think podcasts were I didn't consider them an option in my head, but now they're such a great option for long runs.
I totally agree. If you're not long running with people, which sometimes you just want a nice solo long run.
Yeah.
I totally buy the podcast. I will tell you. Okay, guys, I think you figured this out by now. Ronnie and I have a lot of friends from running because we ran in college, right? So we have running friends in DC, and I was not really running for a while. So when I was running, I would run with music or podcasts. And I was telling them the other day, I was like, yeah, I've been actually getting really into running. What do they fucking call it? Oh my God. What's it called? What is it called when dudes fly and raw dog?
Dudes fly?
When they fly and they don't read anything or watch any TV. They call it raw dogging the flights, right? I was like, I know it's something really, really vile. So I was like, I've been raw dogging my runs. I haven't been listening to music or going with anyone. And they were just yeah, aren't you a runner? And I was like, fuck off, guys. Fuck off.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I do remember And obviously now I don't subscribe to this, but I remember like when I was more serious, I was like, why would you ever distract yourself during a run? Like you need to be like in the run. People who run with music are not serious. And now I exclusively run with music or a podcast, usually a podcast.
Yeah. I enjoy, I will tell you, I went for a run yesterday and my precog theory came from that run yesterday because the brain does just weird synapse things when you're running. Absolutely. But like, yeah, no shame for, I love running with a podcast. So thank you, Charlotte. We support you in your half marathon journey. Tell us how it goes. We're excited to hear how it goes. Very proud of you. Good job. And thank you for your email. It's lovely.
Thank you. Well,
it's our praise king.
Our praise king. Yeah. Wow. I'm like probably never going to forget that.
As soon as the phrase entered my brain, I was like, oh shit, that's me.
Doesn't everyone have a praise kink though?
I think so.
The whole point of praise is to make you feel good. Of course it makes you feel good.
Right. Who's like, oh, I don't care. Like, fuck, I don't care if you say nice things to me. Like, no, that's not real.
Yeah. I don't know. It is gonna mess me up for a while though. Anyways, hi everyone.
Hello.
I'm Ronnie.
I'm Abby.
And this is Dragons in the Details, where we pick apart our favorite fantasy series over the course of an undetermined number of episodes. We've got a new season going, so if you were with us for season 1, we covered the Empyrean. This is season 2. We are covering the series A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. We're super excited. We've done a few episodes now. I'm nowhere near losing the energy for this one. Like, there's still so much to talk about.
God, we haven't even begun. Like, we haven't even fucking begun.
In fact, I was rereading a part of something, and I was like, I think I need to make my own wiki. Like, I think I need to make my own Wikipedia in Notion of, like, all of these things, because I literally, like, there's too much where I'm like, pay attention, remember this, and then it just poof. Or I like annotate it and then I will never remember to go back to it. So we're super excited to be here.
Opened we have a shared Figma, everyone. If you don't know what Figma is, it's like a whiteboarding software. I don't know if you've opened it recently, but I have lost my fucking mind on there. Like, I'm literally categorizing everyone by like what abilities they have. I'm making these crazy family trees. I'm just going off the deep end here. I don't know.
I just created like a follow-up note in my phone for like, because I will read and then like be somewhere else, and so I just like write it on my phone so that I remember how to go back to it. It's no longer just like a brief follow-up note. It's now pages and pages of like stuff where I'm like, what is this? What is that? And then sometimes we find out what it is, and then I'm like, cross that out. We know what it is. Confirmed. Yeah. So This one could go on for a while, guys. But as always, undetermined number of episodes. You don't know. We don't know. We all don't know. We'll be here until there's nothing more to talk about. That's the way it was for the Empyrean. That's the way it will be here. Disclaimer. These episodes contain spoilers for the entire ACOTAR series, the entire A Court of Thorns and Roses series, all 5 published books. We are recording this in August of 2025. Those 5 published books are A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Frost and Starlight, and A Court of Silver Flames. We will announce any other Maasverse spoilers ahead of time, and we'll keep them to the end. So if you've been with us for a few episodes, you know that we get to a point in an episode where like, we are now going to talk about Maasverse spoilers. Verse means Crescent City spoilers, Throne of Glass spoilers as well. Also, disclaimer, this podcast is rated R. Do not listen to it with your children. We've forgotten that a few times. We mark it as explicit on the appropriate channel, so that's implied, but we curse, and these are books with curses and other explicit items in them, so please don't listen to it with your children. Each week, we dive into a specific topic in depth. This week, we are digging into the worst redhead in the series, and there are a disproportionately high number of redheads in this series compared to other series I've read. There's a lot, but we're digging into the worst redhead of them all, Amarantha.
Like, I had 2 thoughts when I saw this note. First, I thought, no, Baron is the worst redhead. And then I thought, no, he's not a fucking redhead.
He's not a redhead.
How is that
possible?
Note that, everyone. How is that possible?
Note it.
But then, like, yeah, what redheads hurt Sarah J. Maas is what I want to know. Because, like, they're pretty terrible. They're pretty terrible.
Well, there's Gwyn, which we don't have any reason to have a problem with Gwyn at this point. And Lucian is kind of a toss-up. I don't know. We don't know about Lucian. If you don't know about Lucian either, maybe go listen to our Lucian episode.
A top-tier episode.
It was a good one. I did, now that we are back, like, from another week, I did listen to it. It is good.
It's good. It's good.
We come with receipts, so we have quotes to back up any theories, so you can follow along if you're skeptical. The more we learn about where you guys listen to this podcast, though, the less I think that you're doing that. If you're listening to it on runs or at work, so far I'm like, who is actually like, oh, let me go look this up now? But I get that it adds integrity, so we will continue doing it.
Yes, we are big fans of quotes here.
We love quotes. All right, announcements, Abby.
All right, Ronnie mentioned, I think at this point you guys get how we're structuring it, but basically first part, ACOTAR only, second part of the episode, Maasverse heavy. I did mention, I think last episode, that some episodes are going to be heavier on the Maasverse and some are going to be less heavy on the Maasverse. I think, at least for me, this is one of those episodes that's heavier on the Maasverse. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I agree.
Apologies if you haven't read the full Maasverse, but that's a choice that you made. You will get a spoiler warning before we get into the Maasverse section. Also, how we're structuring episodes this season, I think you guys have kind of gotten this by now, but instead of doing like necessarily a character by character deep dive or a topic deep dive, which is kind of what we focused on in the Empyrean, we're really diving into specific events, specific topics. So I know it seems like these first couple episodes have been maybe focused on the first book more than others. Not really how it's going to continue. We're going to change it up a lot, but we do always pull in all of the ACOTAR universe into these episodes. So even though the first couple episodes are covering events, characters, etc., that we talk about in the first book, we are still doing the holistic view of the whole season. Last announcement, you're going to hear some deep dive music this episode, and if you've been listening this whole season, you have heard our new deep dive music for season 2. That is brought to you by Schwoodley. That is SCHWOODLEY. You should check him out on Spotify. Check him out. Shout out to Schwoodley.
Shout out Schwoodley. All right, corrections, omissions, social media shout outs. Abby, do you have any to share with the class?
I have an omission. We haven't really gotten there yet with the social media. We're a couple weeks ahead, so I feel like I haven't gotten great comments yet. But if you comment, typically we will always try to respond. If you have a great theory, we will read it on this episode. So if you want to get your theories read, commenting is a great way to do it. I did have one omission, and this honestly also gets into the heart of this episode, I think. It is about the idea of Tamlin's wind power coming from Hybern, which we talked about in the Tamlin episode, and we talked about the idea of Tamlin perhaps being subjected to experiments, magic, spells, etc. at the hands of the King of Hybern when he was a child. I actually forgot about this quote when I said this, but I went, obviously, Amarantha and Tamlin are very closely tied, so I was going back through. And this is in ACOTAR chapter 32. There's a quote from Feyre that said, Tamlin had once said to me that he would fight to protect someone's freedom, that he would never allow slavery. Had it been solely because of shame for his own legacy or because he'd come to somehow know what it was to be enslaved? And she says this right after Alice tells her that like Tamlin had been brought to Hybern as a child. So I really think we're getting set up for this. I'm like, I didn't think it at all the first time I read it, but now that we keep going through and going back on this, I think this is going to be Tamlin's redemption arc, that we find out that like he's not really responsible for maybe like all the terrible things that he's done, which I don't know how I feel about it, but like I feel like we're being set up for Tamlin was like experimented on, tortured as a child, etc. And that is why he is kind of the way that he is. I don't know. Again, I don't know that I love it. I'm not really making a judgment call on that. I'm just telling you that's where I think that's the way I think the story is going.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I do remember that line. And I remember being like, enslaved is a really strong word to use in that context. And at the time that I read it, the only connection I could really draw was like Amarantha and Rhys's relationship. And I was like, oh, was he subjected to something similar? But then that doesn't really work because I believe in the order of that story, Amarantha starting to lust after Tamlin happened later. And so
yeah.
I don't know, like what that connection didn't really work. Okay, I have a couple social media shout outs. We are getting already kind of some engaged folks, some comments, mostly dissenters, but you know, that's the fandom for you.
That's this fandom.
Yes. This fandom is much more strongly opinionated, which we're good with. So the first shout out I have is kind of a few comments that I thought were interesting on one of our posts. We posted about Abby, you talking about Tamlin being potentially Daemati, and you guys had a few interesting comments. One comment was from, is my dog invited? Love the username. And the example that we had provided, that person thought maybe Lucian was involved. And I think after our Lucian episode, we agree that that's a distinct possibility. However, that was one of several instances where we think Tamlin read Feyre's mind, right? The most obvious and like kind of hard to argue with example was when she was falling asleep under the sleeping willow, and she thought he was exactly as I dreamed he would be, and Tamlin just answers her out loud. Like, if you were with us for Empyrean, that's a classic sign of someone's reading their mind and just responding to it out loud.
If your scalp prickles, you should pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another comment from a user named Fontan said that maybe Tamlin just talked to the Suriel. If you're here by now, like, we think that's possible. Like, you should listen to the episode. Is my feedback on that comment.
The clips are kind of harder to make this season so far because everything is so intertwined. It's like hard to have like a one-off theory, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
It's okay though. And then the last one that I actually wanted to talk about was a comment from a user named McFlurry. I don't know. Mac space Flurry called out another time that we saw Tamlin read Feyre's mind, which was that example in the meadow. And that person commented, "We know that mates can read each other's minds." I want to talk about this because I think it's important. We don't know that, and it's not our fault that we're confused as readers. I don't think it's our fault. Rhys and Feyre use the term shout down the bond often. We've not seen any other mates in this series, and admittedly we really have one example, which is Cassian and Nesta. We think that Miriam and Dracon are probably Daemati as well. So Cassian and Nesta do not communicate mind to mind. And so this mating bond, at least from what we've seen in the series, does not seem to be something that allows a psychological connection. We know that there are other books in other series where that is the case, but so far in A Court of Thorns and Roses, that has not been a law by any means. And so I think we probably put a pin in this for now, but I do want to open the discussion and maybe set the precedent that, like, right now, we don't have reason to believe that the mating bond is a psychic connection, like can allow somebody to talk mind to mind. And as far as like why Rhys and Feyre use the term shout down the bond, I don't have a great rationale for it. I think it's just like it might be something that allows them to communicate over longer distances because they're Daemati. So
yeah, I would agree. We don't. Cassian and Nesta, we never see communicate mind to mind, right? And he goes off for a while. And I mean, even she goes off, right? She's on Ramiel, and at no point is she like, hey, by the way, I'm okay, right? So I don't think it's a mate thing. Yeah.
And so I think people are probably going to start using this to debate Cassian and Nesta's legitimacy as mates.
Not on this podcast. They're not.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
No, they're not.
But I think we can talk more about its connection to other series later. Okay, and then my last social media shout out was actually on today's, in podcast time, today's post, which was about the theory that Tamlin could be the mercenary. I'm gonna call out this person's username because I'm trying to be better about that. Goaty Ghost. Goaty Ghost pointed out that the mercenary actually helped Nesta. Like, Nesta hired the mercenary to find the wall and try to bring her back as well. And so I thought it was a good point. Like, I don't think it necessarily negates the fact that he could have been, because we don't have a clear timeline for when that happened and when Tamlin was away versus present. I think there are a few things that have kind of made that a bit of a harder case that we've uncovered in the last couple weeks, right? Like that Tamlin knew that Andros was skinned because Feyre told him. We have this now case of the mercenary kind of being hired to help Nesta back and failing, whether that was intentional or unintentional. Like, the mercenary and Nesta could not find the rift in the wall. And so, good point, good call out. We're calling that out here. Maybe it was an omission on our part. Yes, the mercenary does reappear and fails to help Nesta come back to the wall.
Yeah, for sure. That was a theory we came up with on the spot. I did not have that prepped.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely could be wrong. I definitely am starting to like we actually did get a call out about Lucien potentially being Lucien being the mercenary or something. And I was like, actually, I'm starting to lean more and more towards that actually Lucien was more involved in this than we previously knew.
You know, I love that theory.
I don't know about Nesta hiring the mercenary being the like nail in the coffin though, because like, yeah, Tamlin is gone for a while, and Nesta specifically does not find her way back, right? So this could be like Tamlin's way of like keeping Nesta off the trail if he knows his glamour didn't work. But that would be, I'm saying it right. Like, that's crazy. That would be crazy if that's how it worked out.
That would be crazy. But like, sometimes crazy things happen. Also, we know, or at least I feel like the likelihood that we ever find out whether that was true, probably pretty low. We're pretty far from that, but We'll see.
Yes, but like we're gonna get Tamlin's story at some point, right? She said she was gonna write it. So I do think we're gonna get a lot of reveals about things that we previously thought we understood. This is like her whole fucking thing, right? You think you know what happens, especially in this series, and then it's like you don't. You don't.
Yeah. All right, cool. Our fun question this week is, Abby, what do you think about Amarantha?
I love her. I mean, I hate her, but like, I think she's a really great villain. So first off, as I was doing my prep for this episode, I don't know how you prep, but I start just by like, I go on literally the Kindle for PC and I just put in Amarantha, right? I got 514 hits on Amarantha across this entire series. When I did the same thing with King of Hybern, 119, right? Like, she is such a large presence in this series, even after she dies, right? All of book 2 and even parts of book 3 is basically like recovering from Amarantha, right? So it's like her importance to this, even though she's like not on the page for that long, I feel like her importance to this series like kind of can't be overstated. Like I feel like she's just fundamental and pivotal to all this. She has a lot more personality. We get a lot more screen time, page time with her than with the King of Hybern too. Like she's just fun and she's out here being evil. And I think when you start to, again, this was one of those episodes where I was like, oh yeah, I know who Amarantha is. I get her deal. And then we started to read more and more. I'm like, wait, maybe I don't get her deal. Maybe I don't really understand what's going on here. Like the whole Jurian Clythia story, I'm like, this feels like a story that is not true. This feels like a story that we have not gotten the full picture of, and we'll get into that more. But it like almost doesn't make sense. Again, we'll get into it more. But yeah, I like her. I don't think we are, because I think we're going to get Tamlin's story. I don't think we're done with her kind of chapter, even though she's obviously dead. I don't think she's coming back, nothing like that. But I do feel like there will be potentially more reveals about her character to come.
Yeah, I agree. I think she has more character impact after she's dead than when she's alive. I personally find her, like, as a character, I find her pretty boring. Like as a like villain with, like, you know, the way that she acted on the page and the way that she was pretty one-dimensional. She was just evil. But I think the web that's around her, as far as like her time before she took over Prythian and like the impact that she had on people following everybody getting their powers back, is super interesting. I've liked villains more than her, honestly, but I'm down for some Amarantha chat. I enjoy the web that she's woven. But
have you enjoyed villains in this series more than her?
That's a good point. No, I think she's probably the best villain in this series. I mean, we haven't talked about death gods yet and whether they are or are not villains. So I'm willing to I guess I'm not willing to say that Amarantha is my favorite villain in this series because of that.
I think that's fair.
But we still have to decide whether they're villains or not villains. So yeah, I guess if we're counting villains as her and the King of Hybern, yes, I definitely like her better.
And Brialis, isn't that her name?
Oh, Brialyn.
Brialyn.
She sucks. Like, I think okay, fine. If I'm stack ranking, Amarantha, King of Hybern, Brialyn. Still. Yeah, I'm putting the King of Hybern above Brialyn. Yeah. Brialyn's just like, she's greedy and she wants youth and then she doesn't get it and then she makes it everyone's problem. Like, okay.
Oh, totally. But I was about to say, and this is not a spoiler, I feel like we know that Sarah J. Maas can write a great villain. I feel like we have a great fucking villain in a different series or coming.
I think there's a great villain coming in A Court of Thorns and Roses. I think we haven't seen them yet.
Okay. Either way, we know she can write a great villain, and it never quite happens for this series. Like,
right.
Yeah. And there are a lot of parallels. Amarantha is almost that, but I don't think she quite gets there. Whatever. I don't want to spoil anything. We'll stop.
Yeah. I think she's a far cry from Sarah J. Maas's best villain. Sorry. Maybe we're starting off on a hot take.
Let's pick this back up in the Maasverse section because I do want to talk about it.
Yeah. Shall we deep dive?
Let's deep dive.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with some context and kind of recap on what we know about Amarantha, and then we'll dive into our usual crazy shit. Okay. So I'll recap and you call out anything that I missed. So Amarantha is from Hybern. She was friends with Tamlin's father, who was described as a vicious and fickle High Lord. We don't know anything really about the context of their friendship other than that Tamlin's father went to Hybern with Tamlin to visit them. So Tamlin had visited Hybern and Amarantha with his father often. It's described as often. And Amarantha eventually found herself lusting after Tamlin, so we're told by Alis, right? A lot of what we know about Amarantha is from Alis's kind of monologue to Feyre when she's finally free to speak about her. Amarantha fought on the loyalist side of the war alongside Hybern and had a younger sister named Clythia. Clythia fell in love with Jurian, who was a general for the humans. He commanded the humans. And so they're on opposing sides of the war, Clythia and Jurian. And Jurian basically played Clythia for information about the Fae and then killed her, butchered her. He was in love with another woman named Miriam. And so there's this whole sob story. Clythia is like basically lusting after this enemy general, and then that enemy general turns on her. Amarantha then makes it her life's mission to destroy Jurian. And that whole part, I don't know how you feel about it, but that whole part like doesn't quite click for me. Like she wanted to kill Jurian when Clythia was alive, but she didn't kill Jurian, and then like Clythia died, and then the king was like, don't kill Jurian, but then she eventually did, right? Like she finds conflict with him in another way and keeps his eye and his finger bone, and his eye is encased in a ring, probably using the King of Hybern's spellbook, but I don't think we ever get firm confirmation that she used the spellbook to encase his eye and kind of keep him alive. Let's jump in about the Clythia thoughts now, and then I'll pick it up afterwards. Yeah, because the Clythia plot line doesn't make sense, and I can't tell whether it's just badly written or whether it's something.
It makes no sense. Okay, so the quote is Clythia, who is Fae, who is a Fae loyalist from Hybern, who fucking hates humans and thinks humans should be slaves, right? The line is Clythia loved him with a unrelenting madness. That is the quote. Yeah. And didn't realize that Jurian was using her for information. How is that possible? I just can't wrap my mind around that idea that a Fae warrior who hates humans would fall in love with an opposing general. I'm going to caveat that without some kind of magical interference, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't see how this could possibly be this is what I was talking about in our intro, right? I don't see how this could possibly be the full story here because it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah. But it would have to be magic that's benefiting the humans, right? Like that it would need to be magic in favor of humans.
We get references to humans that can wield magic, right? Rhys
that have access to magic, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I'm wondering if Jurian kind of like, and we might do a Jurian episode, so I don't want to get too deep into it, but like I am wondering if Jurian is more than meets the eye here. Probably, because everyone is.
Well, I also don't really even think that it doesn't need to be a special human. They just need to have books, right? Like that's how it's presented to us. And for context, for everyone who's maybe trying to keep up right now, like Rhys tells Feyre at some point when they're talking about libraries that the libraries were burned. The libraries in the human lands were burned because the Fae wanted to make sure that humans didn't have access to magic. And Feyre was like, well, do humans have access to magic? And Rhys is like, well, some who have special lineage, but sometimes it's just in the words and the magic in like the air. Sometimes it's literally just the spell that is able to invoke magic regardless of who's invoking it. So I don't even think that Jurian necessarily needs to be special for something that has been pulled off here.
Get like no fucking follow-up on that. That is just like a line that is dropped and then left. So if there is going to be a follow-up on it, I think this could be a place where it is followed up on. And then the whole Clythia, Jurian, Miriam, Dracon fucking nonsense. I'm like, this is too... I personally did not love that. I'm like, I cannot keep track of who is sleeping with who and what's going on here. Where did Dracon come from? Is Miriam a human? Is she a Fae? I get that she's Cauldron Maid. What is happening here? I felt like that part really...
Like, it's just a big group of two-timers. Well, actually, it's just the humans that are two-timers. Yeah.
But she's half Fae. They just...
Miriam, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not what this episode is about, but
it's not what this episode is about, but let's lay it out because I forgot after, like, when I read. So Clythia is in love with Jurian. Jurian is in love with Miriam. Miriam ends up mated to Dracon, who is Fae.
A seraphim. Yes.
Yeah.
Miriam dies. Mm-hmm. Dracon resurrects her. We don't know with what. Not with the cauldron, but with some cauldron-made item. We do not know with what. And then Miriam is made, whatever the fuck made means, because we'll get into that because I think there's conflicting things on what made means.
Yeah.
And all of this goes back to Amarantha because Clythia is Amarantha's sister. So it's all a fucking mess. That's what I'm saying.
So we're unclear on how Clythia could just love Jurian and also have no idea that he's not in love with her.
It just doesn't seem likely. It just doesn't seem likely. but who knows?
Yeah. Yep. And then he just like butchers Clythia, a high fae.
Right.
I don't know, a general. Like, yeah, I'm with
He
you.
crucifies her. He crucifies her. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he crucifies her and then butchers her.
And then
right?
butchers her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Crucifies her with ash so that she can't do anything about it. Yeah.
Fucking brutal. Fucking terrible. Ugh.
Honestly brutal. Yeah. And like, I know
Yeah.
we don't know much about Clythia, but like, regardless of whether she's being influenced or not, gotta feel her in that moment. Like, Jurian,
I understand Amarantha's anger at Jurian here. Like, it's totally fucking justifiable.
I know that the phrase all's fair in love and war exists, but like, that is brutal. And we even come to, in this series, view Jurian as like a good guy, like an ally, but like,
I know.
that is dark. Yeah. So following that, it's rather understandable that Amarantha then made it her life's mission to destroy Jurian. We have some strange direction here from the King of Hybern, which is the King of Hybern doesn't want her to kill him, probably for the sake of peace, but like, we know that the King of Hybern doesn't actually want peace long term. Anyways, she eventually meets him in conflict. I feel like that was also kind of vague, and kept his eye, kept a finger bone, encased it in a ring. Amarantha then embarks on this like PR campaign for herself, where she sort of tries to atone for her sins and uses Clythia's death as something that changed her, which I also find interesting because Clythia's death, in my opinion, gives her massive reason to hate humans and continue hating them.
Yeah, it makes
like,
no sense. It makes
Amarantha,
no sense.
like, either you're a bad liar, well, in both cases, right? Like, you're a bad liar, but also like, High Lords, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? So she goes on this campaign and kind of charms all of these High Lords and is like, I mean no harm, Clythia's death changed me, and they call her the never fading flower, which is such an interesting word for even just the way that this woman is described to look, right? Which is not particularly beautiful, but nice looking with like red hair and black eyes, right? So for 50 years, she goes from court to court, charming everyone, but not joining anyone, not allying with any one court. And then all the while, behind the king's back, she had trade ships bringing over her own forces and decides that she wants to use Prythian which, remember, on our map, like, Prythian is an isle, effectively. Like, it's an isle kingdom. So she wants to use it as a launching point to fully destroy the human lands. There's a slice of human lands on Prythian, but the bulk of the human lands are actually across the water on the continent. So she wants to use Prythian as kind of a launching point to just destroy the human lands, and used Hybern's, quote, unholy spellbook to create a potion that when the High Lords drank it with their wine, their hearts turned to stone and their magic was significantly dampened. She then continues with her campaign for Tamlin, but Tamlin, having seen everything that happened, doesn't want her, and so Lucian is sent as emissary to treat for peace, and that's when she carves out Lucian's eye. She hosts a masquerade.
Fingernail. Using a fingernail.
Which is so gross. Also, independent of the implications. Sure.
So you know how it's like very in to have very long fingernails right now. This is not ACOTAR related, guys. This is a total fucking tangent. Like,
yeah.
You know how Cynthia Erivo during Wicked had like those really long nails?
Claws. Yeah.
Yeah. Derek goes, whenever I see long nails like that, I think there must be so much poop in them, because like, how do they wipe their asses? God, you're fucking disgusting.
I could have lived my entire life without thinking about that, Derek.
I know.
What the heck?
Okay. Anyway, we can edit that out if we want. I just had to get it off.
No, I think it's relevant. It's relevant. We don't know how long Amarantha's fingernails were, to be clear.
We don't know how long her fingernails were.
But they were probably pretty long if she could carve out Lucian's eye with one. Yeah. And so then she carves out Lucian's eye. That's obviously terrible. Tamlin is distraught. The phrase that's used is that he vomits, like he's brought to sickness to see his friend in the state that he returned to the spring court in. And so Amarantha, in like classic, like, this woman apologizes with the craziest methods I've ever seen. Like, she does 50 years of courting, and now her next method of apology is hosting a masquerade ball so that Lucian could wear a mask and cover up kind of the scarring and the gore. And so there's this masquerade ball. The whole spring court comes with masquerade attire on, and Tamlin basically embarrasses her at this party by saying he'd rather marry a human than her. So do you want to add something here?
This is just Tamlin is so dumb part 2.
Tamlin's so dumb. He's so dumb.
I'm sorry. This woman has already thrown a ball. She's already thrown a party, and she stole all your fucking powers at that party.
Yeah.
And now she's going to throw another party. What do you think is going to happen?
Literally, what do you think is going to happen? Also, I feel like I didn't think enough about the fact that these were 2 fully separate events. Like, there are 2 curses.
Different.
Yeah.
There are 2 curses. This is really important.
Yeah.
I actually think this is really important. There are 2 curses.
Yeah.
It is 2 different events. It is 2 different parties. You would think maybe they would figure out that the second one is not one they should attend, but alas, no.
Alas, they did not. Yeah. But important, right? There are 2 curses. The first curse turned the High Lord's hearts to stone and dampened their power. And then the second party, they all show up. Tamlin is like, I'd marry a human over you. She basically says, do it, you won't. And gave him a way to break this spell. She basically offers him a way to break the spell that is dampening his power, but it's with another curse, right? So this deal was that in 7 times 7 years, so 49 years, he needed to find a human girl with ice in her heart, willing to kill a fairy, one of his men specifically. It had to be one of his men. And then that human girl needs to be willing to marry him. The human needed to say that she loved him and mean it. And so Amarantha then also uses the High Lord's powers to bind everyone to their lands. I didn't think she could use the High Lord's powers.
I know.
I'm confused.
I know.
I'm confused. Because she didn't really seem to be able to use them otherwise, but apparently uses the High Lord's powers to bind everyone to their lands to lessen the odds of rebellion.
I don't know what that means.
And then Tamlin's
I'm going to be honest with you.
Yep.
What does that mean? She binds them to their lands. What does that mean?
So I don't actually have any evidence to support this, but I thought that binding them to their lands was basically like immobilizing armies, so that like your armies are bound to your court, so you can't like collectively try and overthrow her.
Maybe. Okay, could be. I was like, I don't know what this line means. I don't know what this means, but you could be right. Yeah.
I don't know. This whole thing is kind of tough. Yeah.
I need to get this off my chest. I love this book. I do. This fucking curse is so convoluted. It is so convoluted. It's so dumb. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's also like I don't feel like I know what Amarantha's powers actually are.
I think we're going to get into it.
Uses these spells and dampens High Lord's power. She seems like she can maybe use them in certain contexts, but I don't see anything else that she does.
I don't really think she's that powerful without these spells.
And they say that, right? Like they pretty much say outright, like she could have never beat them when it comes to combat. Like the High Lord's power is nowhere near what she's capable of. But I also don't know what she's capable of at all, honestly. Yeah.
We'll get into that. I think we'll get into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, more questions than answers, honestly, in the context. Why were Amarantha and Tamlin's father such good friends? Like, other than them just being evil, I don't feel like we have a great reason. Why 7 by 7 years? Seems like it's important. Seems like it will be important, and then nothing ever comes of it. And I'm like, okay. I mean, there's 7 High Lords. That's all I got.
There's lots of sevens. There's lots of sevens.
There's lots of sevens. Yeah. And like, we know that all fantasy authors of this day and age are likely just massive Harry Potter fans. And so maybe it's just a nod to that. And that's fine. If that's the case, I respect that. But anything that you would add to context recap?
One thing I have a slightly different understanding of what happened with Jurian.
Okay.
Maybe it is the same understanding. You were saying like the king gave her an order to not kill Jurian. It's not only that, right? She literally disobeyed the king's orders to kill Jurian. She literally, like, the king called on her to fight in this war, and she was like, no, I have to kill this motherfucker, right? So she has a real rebellious streak. I'm not really sure why, if you're the king of Hybern, you would send her to Prythian at all for a second time.
Yep.
So I had that. Let me see. We did not mention she also captures Rhys in the war
when he was like a kid, basically.
Yeah, when he was like a very kid, basically
commander of a legion.
Yeah. And she does not recognize him when she comes back to Prythian. The flower thing, so I do think it's interesting that they call her a flower. So Amarantha, the word, I don't know what language, means unfading or everlasting, and then amaranth is a flower. So when it's that never fading flower, I think it's just a play on her name. I literally have written down here, what are her powers? I don't know.
Yeah.
Something far more violent than lightning to break Feyre's body, and then she has a blast of white light to knock back Rhys' hand. She's clearly not a Daemati, because she didn't know that Rhys was planning to overthrow her. She's nowhere near as powerful as Tamlin. She literally pleads for her life. Like, I don't really know. I don't really know what her powers are other than this spell book. So.
All right, Abby, tell me, why does Rhys need Tamlin to kill Amarantha?
Right, so there's two things I think that are going on here. So the first, and this is kind of what we talked about before, there are actually two curses here, right? There's a curse on Tamlin, there's a curse on High Lords that is holding all their power back. The bargain that Feyre makes with Amarantha is to break Tamlin's curse, right? And the curse on his court. So the is, I want his curse broken too, I blurted. She raised a brow, her smile growing, revealing far too many of those white teeth. I complete all 3 of your tasks and his curse is broken and we and all of his court can leave here and remain free forever. So Rhys's curse is never going to be broken unless, and then Amarantha throws in the riddle, right? But like Rhys's curse is not going to be broken. He even says at one point, I have it on here already.
Wait, like, but you're talking about 3 separate events now. I agree with you. I just think it's important to note, right? Like, there's Tamlin's first curse is to get him out of the original curse, him specifically out of the original curse. And then when that doesn't pan out, Feyre makes that bargain, which is to, again, still only break Tamlin's curse.
But Tamlin's curse now being his full curse. Or I don't even
his full
know.
Curse.
Yeah, his
full curse. Yeah.
His full curse, which is Mask and Heart of Stone. All right. So that's kind of the first thing here, that Feyre's bargain will not break Rhys's curse. So Rhys needs someone else to kill Tamlin. Or kill him. Okay. Oh, man. We are having a loopy episode today. All right. On the other hand, there's this idea, and I didn't pick up on this on my first read or on my second read, so who knows? This might be a kooky idea. But there is this idea that both Rhys and Amarantha are trying to unleash Tamlin, right? So like something about Tamlin specifically needs unleashing. We get this with Rhys. We get this a couple times with Rhys, right? So like he says he makes the bargain with Feyre, and Feyre is like, why would you try to save Tamlin? And he's like, yeah, isn't that the question? Don't you want to know? We know that everything that Rhys is doing is to kind of rile up Tamlin and make him angry, and that Rhys is betting that Tamlin's first move when he's free will be to kill Amarantha rather than kill Rhys, and that will give, when Amarantha dies, that will give Rhys enough time. I guess he's planning to winnow out of the mountain. I don't really know. But he's basically betting that Tamlin's rage at Amarantha will be so great that he will kill Amarantha and that Rhys himself will be free. But I think Amarantha is also trying to use that to her advantage. So we have a couple quotes here. Chapter 41, this is the Adder talking to some kind of pig creature from Hybern. We'll get into that later. He says, my lady makes no bargains that are not advantageous to her. She lets them claw at hope, but once it is shattered, they are her beautifully broken minions. So this is about Amarantha basically playing with Feyre, and this pig creature is like, hey, the king of Hybern is not happy that this is happening. Like, this sounds pretty fucking similar to what happened with Jurian, and she totally blew him off. So, like, he's not happy that this is happening. And the Adder is basically saying here, don't worry, there's a larger plan in play, right? So I was thinking about this, and I'm like, she lets them claw at hope. Who is she letting claw at hope? Because it's not Feyre. She's not trying to break Feyre, right? Like, she specifically is like, I will kill you. You don't matter to me. You're a human. She tries to kill Feyre after, well, she does kill Feyre, right? She kills Feyre after the curse is broken. So this is not about manipulating Feyre and letting her claw at hope. It's about manipulating Tamlin. I think it's Tamlin. I think it's Tamlin specifically, and I'll get into why later, because she says, well, I'll get into why now. This conversation, the Adder says, like, no, all of the armies of Hybern are like, all of the armies of High Lords will be ready to march for Hybern. And we know, Rhys tells us, like, whatever Amarantha says, they have to do, right? They have to do it, but they don't have to do it willingly. So, like, basically, if Amarantha says, hey, there's a war coming, you guys need to ready your armies, you're going to fight for me. They are, for whatever reason, with this spellbook, completely powerless to fight that. But I still think there's this idea of Tamlin not being like fully unleashed, right? Because she's doing all these trials to kind of get Tamlin to that point where he's going to be so angry that like something will be like, and I don't know what it is, but like something will be unleashed, unlocked from within him, and he'll just go fucking berserk on the battlefield or something. I don't know, but like this sentence, this clawing at hope sentence makes me think that this is actually about Tamlin and his rage and harnessing that for whatever reason. Yeah. I mean, maybe just to get him to fuck her, but that seems pretty short-sighted.
No, surely not.
Surely not.
Surely not. My thoughts on actually our next question could get into why she might be bottling up Tamlin's rage, honestly. But I totally agree with you that, like, she definitely sees him as an asset, and why. Like, she doesn't seem like somebody who's genuinely capable of love, and the word love is never used to describe, like, her feelings for him. It's lust. And so, like, she clearly just wants him at her side for some reason. Like, what is the reason? I think that ties into where you're going.
So there's this quote in chapter 42. Tamlin might refuse to be her lover, but she keeps him at her side out of the hopes that she'll break him, dominate him, as she loves to do with our kind, right? So it's not about it's not about them being in a relationship, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, that's obviously not what she's after. She
would probably have to take a different tack.
Yeah, right. She wants to dominate him. And the question is kind of why? Yeah. So then I have the quote from Rhys. Her biggest weapon is that she keeps our powers contained, but she can't access them, not wholly. So she can't access their powers. That's what Rhys is saying, right?
Yeah.
It's why I've never been able to shatter her mind, why she's not dead already. The moment you break Amarantha's curse, Tamlin's wrath will be so great that no force in the world will keep him from splattering her on the walls. I just think we're getting led to some kind of Tamlin reveal here. Like, I really feel like this whole book is setting us up for
no force in the world.
No
and
force
Rhys
in
is
the
aware.
world.
Rhys is aware of a lot of things, as we know, about this world and, like, gods who have been in it and, like, other creatures who have been in it, and no force in this world will keep Tamlin from killing Amarantha. That's a crazy claim.
I just right. So like in this Amarantha deep dive, I'm like, oh shit. We should have done this before the Tamlin deep dive, because now I have I don't know. All my theories end up at Tamlin's doorstep. But yeah, I just keep going. Let me see if I have any more quotes here. Yeah, working Tamlin into a senseless fury is the best weapon we have against her. Seeing you enter into a fool's bargain with Amarantha was one thing, but when Tamlin saw my tattoo on your arm, oh, you should have been born with my abilities, if only to have felt the rage that seeped from him. And then Rhys also seems to know that, like, there's just something here, because Rhys says Tamlin basically won't be able to stop killing once he starts, right? He says, Feyre, for Cauldron's sake, I drug you, but don't you wonder why I never touch you beyond your waist or arms? It's the only claim I have to innocence. The only thing that will make Tamlin think twice before entering into a battle with me that would cause a catastrophic loss of innocent life. We've talked about this with Tamlin before, where he says, like, I won't be able to control myself, right? And I took it as him being a toxic male, and it's still a toxic male thing, but, like, I really starting to think there is like some kind of unnatural, magical thing that happened to him where, like, it's a switch, and when it gets flipped on, he just, like, can't stop it for whatever reason. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm going towards, but maybe I'm looking for things that aren't there.
Which is so interesting, right? Because what it brings me to is the High Lords meeting, when, like, Rhys has no problem leashing Tamlin. Like, what about Tamlin and Rhys at this point yields a different result than, like, the potential implications of that? Like, I guess, and it doesn't need to come into play here, but I feel like following this book, like, from when we start A Court of Mist and Fury onwards, we're basically set with a precedent that, like, Rhys is more powerful than all of them. Like, no contest, not an issue. They all meet as High Lords, and Rhys is clearly the most powerful, tells Tamlin to fuck off, like,
no problem.
Literally mutes him. No problem. That said, like, they didn't engage in hand-to-hand combat. So, and that is Tamlin's strong suit. So maybe that's it.
And Rhys, if Tamlin has some kind of, like, kill switch like this, Rhys knows, right? Because they were friends, right? So, couple thoughts on that. Like, one, Rhys is not at his full power here, right? So, like, we know, right, like, when Rhys gets to his full power, like, maybe Tamlin is still no match for him. And it's like a different kind of fighting. Like, it's, But I agree. It's like she's going down this path, and then,
like,
and then she goes in a different direction.
Right. Yeah. Here, you're making me think, like, oh, Tamlin and Rhys are equals, and, like, this goes back to what we, like, have hypothesized about, where, like, maybe Rhys and Tamlin were both experimented on. That's why they're so crazy powerful. But then that doesn't really play out later in the series. So I don't know. Maybe he's just broken in the series so far, and we need to see him come back.
I don't know. I think you're right. I mean, all this groundwork is laid, and then, like, seemingly nothing comes from it, but we are still maybe getting Tamlin's story, so I don't know how it's going to play out. Yeah. All right. And then the other point I had is, she, like, when Tamlin's curse is broken, Amarantha is fucking terrified. She begs for her life. She says, please. right?
Yeah.
So like she knows it's over. Like she knows there's no escaping.
Yeah. Just
What
like,
did you
what
have
a
for this one?
gamble. What a gamble to make by Amarantha, right? Crazy gamble for Amarantha to make, because like she knew that she was riling him up, right? Like she, as you mentioned, references several times where she's like, Tamlin's powerful, Tamlin needs to be at my side. She has been turning him against her throughout the trials. Like these have all been things that will piss Tamlin off, and yet she gambles on an out for him at the same time.
Well, she's trying to break him, right? She's trying to give him hope and then break him. And I think that's exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
She hates humans, right? In her mind, there is no way Feyre is getting through these trials. She does not think Feyre is smart enough. She does not think Feyre will kill these Fae, right? Like in her mind, she's giving Tamlin hope, and then he's going to watch his love die in front of him, and he's going to be enslaved to Amarantha forever.
Yep. Tough look for Amarantha. All right. Anything else on this one? My like main thesis for this one was just, like the curse was always only going to be broken on Tamlin. Every other Fae and High Lord in that court were counting on Tamlin taking out Amarantha.
Yeah. That's the straightforward answer. This kill switch thing could be something, could be nothing.
No, I think it's important. Like, I think we're fed plenty that Tamlin has some like intense, potentially magicked anger issue. Yeah. So 100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Ronnie, why was Amarantha called the Deceiver?
I love this question. Okay. So we hear about Amarantha being called the Deceiver with a capital D twice in A Court of Thorns and Roses, the book. The first, actually, I'm not going to talk about the first. I'm going to talk about the second first. Alice mentions it to Feyre that Amarantha was called the Deceiver, and she sort of loosely ties it when she speaks about it to Amarantha's deceit of the High Lords. And so that quote is, "Now they call her the Deceiver, she who trapped the 7 High Lords and built her palace beneath the sacred mountain in the heart of our land." So the Deceiver who trapped the High Lords, deceit of the High Lords. But when the Suriel tells Feyre that Amarantha, well, he actually doesn't say Amarantha, but when the Suriel tells Feyre about the Deceiver, he ties it to the deceit against the King of Hybern. And in doing so, actually points out that Hybern had a broader plan and a strategy to conquer humans, and Amarantha was only one piece of that puzzle, but she went off and started doing her own thing. And so that quote is, "And so, 100 years ago, he dispatched his most trusted and loyal commanders, his deadliest warriors, remnants of the ancient armies that he once sailed to the continent to wage such a brutal war against you humans, all of them as hungry and vile as he. As spies and courtiers and lovers, they infiltrated the various high fae courts and kingdoms and empires around the world for 50 years, and when they had gathered enough information, he made his plan. But nearly 5 decades ago, one of his commanders disobeyed him, the Deceiver, and then the Suriel is cut off," right? This is super interesting, one, because I want to talk about the Amarantha part of it, like, she clearly deceived him, but 2, this is more groundwork that hasn't been played out, right? Like, Hybern's commanders have been infiltrating other high fae courts that are not Prythian, other kingdoms, other empires, gathering information, breaking them. Like, where else is this happening that we've not been exposed to? We've got the continent. That's like a possibility, but really the only other territories we know of in the series so far are, besides the continent territories, are Hybern and Credia, which is hidden and kind of nearby Prythian. So like kind of flashing sirens going off here, like, is there other stuff that's going to come back into play in this series related to other commanders of Hybern going other places and infiltrating other courts? But here, Amarantha is tied to deceit of Hybern. And we find out, right, that she's been ferrying over her forces on these trade ships. I think, and maybe this is obvious and maybe it's not worth pointing out, but I didn't really process it until the second read. I think she was trying to raise a rival army. Like, I think she was attempting to completely control the High Lords eventually and figure out how to actually use their power, not necessarily just kill humans. And to me, her going behind Hybern's back, like, one, what was she doing behind Hybern's back? I think she was trying to actually completely control these High Lords and figure out how to use their powers and achieve an end that was not just killing humans and conquering. Like, I think she had a different agenda from Hybern, which Hybern's agenda was conquering humans.
I agree. That's not what I got into in this. I got more into like it was really more the Tamlin stuff. My answers to these two questions were pretty similar. No, I mean, we already talked about it. I agree. So there's that conversation. There's that conversation that Feyre overhears with Nuala and Ceridwen. I'm sure I said their names wrong, right? Where the lackey from Hybern comes over. And I have it written here. So Feyre is being escorted by the Wraiths, and she overhears a conversation between the Adder and a creature that she can't see, but for that Feyre swears she overhears snorts like a pig. Yes, the Adder was saying, good, she'll be most pleased to hear that they're ready at last. They, I believe, being Hybern's forces, right? But will the High Lords contribute their forces? The guttural voice replied. I could have sworn it snorted like a pig. The High Lords will do as she tells them, the Adder gloated, and its tail slithered and slashed across the floor. Right, so like the High Lords have to do what she says, which I think is kind of fucking wild. But like, at this point, and no one ever talks about this, right? If Feyre had not freed them from being under the mountain, the humans are done, right? Like the humans are fucking toast because all of the High Lord's armies would have had to march for Hybern, right?
Yeah.
I heard talk from soldiers in Hybern that the High King is not pleased regarding the situation with the girl. Amarantha made a fool's bargain. She cost him the war the last time. Yeah, right. So like Amarantha going after Jurian cost Hybern the war the last time, right? Like, tell me why the fuck this woman is still employed or alive. Like, really?
Yeah,
right?
Alive. Yeah.
All right. She cost him the war last time because of her madness with Jurian. If she turns her back on him again, he will not be so willing to forgive her. Stealing his spells and taking a territory for her own is one thing. Failure to aid in his cause a second time is another. There was a loud hiss, and I trembled as the Adder snapped his jaw at its companion. My lady makes no bargains that are not advantageous to her. She lets them claw at hope, but once it is shattered, they are her beautifully broken minions. So this is why I thought, for some reason, Amarantha thought it was so important to break Tamlin's will.
Yeah.
But I think you're totally right. Like, she has no loyalty to Hybern. Like, she is out here for her own agenda. I don't have any quotes to back this up. Like, do you feel like she might have been in love with Jurian? Because, like, the way she hates him
is crazy.
Yeah, like, and I said at the beginning of the episode that she is justified. Like, Jurian does crucify her.
Jurian did a terrible thing to her sister. Yeah.
But this is like 500 years of rage.
Yeah. And I guess it just begs the question, like, what's the difference in their agendas, really, right? Because I think we're basically explicitly told by a reliable source, which is the Suriel, that Amarantha is going against the King of Hybern's wishes. And then we overhear the Adder arguing with that agent from Hybern about what she's doing, right? And so if she hates humans and wants them to die in vengeance, like, that definitely would not be a super big deviation from what we're told that the King of Hybern wants to do, which is just conquer all humans, right? So like, why does she feel the need to go against his orders? I don't think we have a great answer to that right now, but no. I think it's an open question.
Unless it's classic, she wants to be queen. She doesn't want to have to deal with the fucking King of Hybern. She just wants it for herself,
Yeah. I mean, the Mad Queen narrative is not one that wouldn't work for Amarantha, right? Like, she's literally got Jurian suspended as an eyeball, just watching everything forever. Yeah. So maybe it is just like her mad drive to avenge her sister. Yep, possible.
And she stole the king's spellbook. How did she fucking do that? Anyway, I guess we'll get into it. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that there's more to say here. I do not think she was out here. I totally agree with you that it would be fucking hilarious if we get set up 5 books later that, there's Hybern generals everywhere, right? Like, but I know. I had the same thought. I had the same thought. Like, where are they? What happens to them? The fuck? I know I go on rants about maps, but the fucking maps in this book piss me off so much because, like, we talk about, like, Xi'an, we talk about Sangrava. Like, where are these places? Are they on this continent? Are they on a different continent? Where are they? Right? Like,
the fact that we're not given Sangrava actually really pisses me off. And like just in general, the temples. I'm like, where are they? We're given a couple. And then they start to expose things on the continent, like, as we learn about them.
Well, yeah. So Mor has gone to these places on the continent. So, like, she could be setting up to meet up with some of Hybern's generals for sure. It just feels like a line that's going to come back that has not come back yet. And this was book 1 and we're going to book 6,
Yeah. We took a big detour into, like, literally other species and just forgot about Hybern.
Yeah.
But, like, all that happened is that their king and one of their generals died.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what she's gonna do.
I don't know. We don't know. Okay. Anything else on that question?
Sometimes I crack myself up when I read my notes. So this was this was the question when I was gonna make my argument that this is all about Tamlin, but I made it in the last argument. My last note is, even when Feyre completes all 3 trials, Amarantha is desperate to get her to say she doesn't love Tamlin, to break him and make him angry. And I wrote, the quote is, "Say that you don't truly love him," Amarantha spat, "and my body twisted, breaking bit by bit. Admit to your inconstant heart," right? And I wrote, like, is this really about a boy? Are we really that petty? Is that really what we're doing here?
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like it's like it could be so beautiful if it were just like a little bit clearer, right? Because she's basically putting Tamlin through the torture that Clythia would have felt had someone been doing that to Jurian, Clythia's human object of affection.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like all of this is trying to prove to Tamlin that humans cannot love Fae. Right. But like,
yeah.
But
like, they fully can.
They fully can. And I don't buy that this is all just so that she can fuck Tamlin. Like, it just doesn't really. Yeah.
No way. Yeah.
I think it's what you're saying here. I think she wants Tamlin for her own army pet thing.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, maybe Tamlin can kill the King of Highburn, but I mean, whatever. Elaine and Nesta kill the King of Highburn. It's not that hard, it turns out. I don't know.
Well, with a magic dagger after they were dipped into the cauldron. Like, I don't know. If Tamlin has the same powers as a magic dagger and 2 women who were made by the source of all power itself, like, that's still pretty big. It's still big.
Yeah. Yeah. It just feels like we've gotten set up for, I know I've said this like 5 times, but it feels like we were getting set up for so much in this book. And then she just was like, forget it. Different direction, which is fine. I like the direction it went.
I like it too. All right, cool. So now we're going to head into our Maasverse spoilers section. So if you have not read all of Crescent City and all of Throne of Glass, we strongly suggest that you leave because you are about to be spoiled. Please leave. Unless you don't care. I've learned that some people genuinely don't care about being spoiled. But if you care about being spoiled, we recommend you leave.
If you genuinely don't care, I'll say this. If you're a person who's like, I want to have a better understanding of ACOTAR, but I'm never going to read Crescent City or Throne of Glass, and you know that about yourself, that's fine. Stay. We welcome you.
Yep. You won't. You'll be lost, but like, that's fine. All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Okay. For all who are still here, my notes for this section are triple the length of my notes for the first section.
There's a lot more to talk about here.
Yes.
And I'm no clearer to an answer. I want to be clear. I'm not really closer to an answer, but I have a lot of thoughts. That's this whole episode.
Yeah, we've got thoughts. We've got thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, Abby. How does Amarantha turn the High Lord's hearts to stone and harness their power?
Okay, so I feel like that answer is here, and I have to start here, if that works.
Sure. Okay.
When we meet Amarantha, her eyes are black. We've talked about this in other episodes, right? That is typically, and I double checked, Throne of Glass, I believe the first 4 Throne of Glass books were out at the time that A Court of Thorns and Roses was written. So Valg exists. Valg very much exists. Amarantha's eyes are black. The King of Hyburn's eyes are black. We think this is a big neon sign that Amarantha is a Valg, right?
Amarantha has pincers.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So if you need a refresher from Throne of Glass, Valg are a parasitic race that can possess humans or Fae. Their natural form does not look like Fae, but they can possess them, right? And there's different types of Valg, and they can take on different types of forms. So, and the only real sign that someone is being possessed by a Valg is that their eyes are black and they bleed black, right? And they're described as having this oily kind of substance about them. When we meet Amarantha, her eyes are described varyingly as ebony, onyx, etc., right? So her eyes are black. This is a synonym for black. Valg also delight in physical and emotional pain. They like to cause people pain. That also sounds like very Amarantha. Oh, and I wrote it here. Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Assassin's Blade, and Heir of Fire all came out before ACOTAR. Heir of Fire is the one where we get the Valg princes possessing the bodies, right? So it's completely possible that Amarantha was written to be Valg, was intended to be Valg, is Valg, right? On the other hand, we do not know the color of her blood. She, like, Sarah J. Maas never says that Amarantha is bleeding black. We never get that oiliness about her that comes from other Valg. there's a distinct moment in Throne of Glass where Aelin meets the kind of Valg. I don't even remember if they're princes, but she meets the Valg, the Fae possessed by Valg, or maybe they're humans possessed by Valg for the first time. And she feels this despair. She feels this darkness, like she'll never feel happy again. That never happens. That does not happen, right? So she could be Valg. She could not be Valg. I'm not sold on this idea that Amarantha is specifically Valg.
Feyre does say that if she were to paint her, she would be driven to madness. I think that could be a flag for this woman something is deeply, deeply evil about her.
Right. So let's talk about the Stygian spider thing, right? So you brought this up in a last episode. For a refresher, Stygian spiders in the Throne of Glass world are basically Maeve's handmaidens, right? So they are actually Valg. They're not possessing a body. They are Valg from the Valg homeworld that have come through a portal and are living in Aralea in the Throne of Glass world, right? So they are not possessing a body at all. Ronnie has hypothesized, other people have hypothesized, I am now hypothesizing that Amarantha could potentially be a Stygian spider, which you might be saying, hey, that doesn't work. Then she would look like a spider. However, we meet in Throne of Glass world. There's a Stygian spider named Serene who can shift into human form in Kingdom of Ash. The reason why Serene can shift into a human form is because she makes a bargain with a shifter for the shifter wants her spider silk, right? So she takes 20 years off his life in exchange for the spider silk. When she takes those 20 years, she gets his shifting power. Who do we know with shifting power? Tamlin.
Tam.
So, and we know that Tamlin and Amarantha's father were close, right? So I'm not saying it's Tamlin, but powers are typically hereditary in this world, right? So if Tamlin has the shifting power, I could see a scenario where Tamlin's father also has the shifting power and Amarantha makes some kind of bargain. There are some other similarities between Serene and Amarantha, right? So Amarantha clearly has a thing about bargains, right? She's making bargains left and right with Feyre. When the spider shifts into a woman, she has black eyes. The way that this is described is not pretty, but with a deadly, ancient sort of allure that even a new hide couldn't conceal. When Feyre meets Amarantha, she says something sucked at her beauty, some kind of permanent sneer to her features that made her allure seem contrived and cold. So it's the same thing about an allure, but it's like kind of deadly, right? So she's using similar words there. You mentioned the line where Amarantha has pincers, right? There's a line about Serene having pincers. Scowling at her bare feet in the snow, Serene's hands twitched at her sides, an echo of the pincers she'd worn moments before. So there's similarities here, right? I think if Amarantha is Valg, she has to be this spider because she's not wearing a collar, she's not wearing a ring, unless she is literally being possessed by a Valg prince and has a stone heart, which we'll get to, right? Like I think she has to be a spider.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like here now in the theory. What do you want to react to that, or do you want me to keep going?
No, I like it. I think you should keep going.
All right. So then we get to the idea of the stone hearts and turning the High Lord's hearts to stone. So in Throne of Glass, there is a scene where we see that instead of using a ring or collar to possess a body, the Valg have figured out a way to replace human hearts with wordstone hearts so that they can possess an entire body. And we see this in, I forget the name of the city, but it's on the coast. Aelin sees her old overseer from the salt mines and she kills him and she finds like his body is just blackness inside. It's been completely overtaken by a wordstone heart. And she sees, oh my God, I'm going to forget his name, the Valg King's eyes, Erewhon, which always makes me think of that fucking grocery store in LA, by the way.
Erewhon?
Yes.
Yeah. It does sound very similar.
All right. So obviously that happens in Throne of Glass. And then the High Lords have hearts of stone. And everyone's like, oh my God, they're wordstone hearts. I do not think that is what's happening here for one very specific reason. The wordstone hearts, well, a couple specific reasons. The wordstone heart very much beats, right? It is like very, very much beating out of this guy's chest. So he says, Aelin lifted her head. She'd burned off his clothes, but not touched the skin. And there, pulsing against his ribs, as if it were a fist punching through, was his heart. It slammed into his skin, stretching bone and flesh. And that is the wordstone heart, right? Tamlin's heart, famously not beating, right? That's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So maybe Amarantha is a Stygian spider. I could buy that, but I do not think these are wordstone hearts. And these High Lords are clearly not possessed by Valg, right? Like they are of their own mind, they're of their own volition. I don't really think this is that, unless this was an early prototype. Right? Unless this was like an experiment that the King of Hybern and Amarantha were running to kind of get to the Wordstone. And we know the Wordstone hearts are made of a combination of Wordstone and iron. I got the sense that this was like true stone. Oh, so in conclusion, maybe a Stygian spider. I'm not buying the Wordstone heart theory.
Is this the answer to how does she turn the High Lord's hearts to stone?
Yeah.
How does she do it? Okay.
Well, she does it with the spell book. I don't know.
Yeah. I went down the Wordstone hearts route. So I agree with you. Amarantha does not have the classic Valg. Like I've always envisioned her as a Stygian spider, as I mentioned in our Tamlin episode. Like I think that's what she is. My thought here, and it's admittedly a little woo-woo, like it's probably should be a precog theory, but we asked the question, and so we're going to answer the question, is we talked about Amarantha having different motivations from the King of Hybern and potentially going through kind of this different plan. She's clearly doing things that are deceiving the King of Hybern, but we don't really know what they are because like everything that she's doing is going down the path of conquering humans, and that's the same path that the King of Hybern is going down. So like what is different? What is she doing behind his back? I don't think it really panned out, right? Because she died. So we don't know. I had the thought, right? And we obviously don't know how that single Wordstone heart instance in Throne of Glass with the Chief Overseer of Andovier was created. But I had the thought that if she was somehow, like, and we'll get to this when we talk about the spellbook, if she was somehow creating space for Valg, right? Like space for Valg and these High Lords, and had a plan for Valg to eventually possess these High Lords' Wordstone hearts that are not beating because there's no Valg in them yet. Like they're not Valg possessed. The stone is just there. Then that could give her an opportunity that maybe the King of Hybern does not currently have, right? Where you've got 7 High Lords, they've all got Hearts of Stone. She's going to bring in Valg or offer up those kind of High Lords with Wordstone hearts and say, okay, this is my plan for power, is I control these 7 High Lords with this spellbook. They've all got Wordstone hearts, and they're all Valg. Then she has this ability to go a totally different direction from Hybern. And I think we're given an interesting parallel in the plot of Throne of Glass, right? And that Maeve is a villain, but she has a totally she doesn't want the same things that Erewhon wants. She wants to just be free and escape. Like she doesn't want part of his agenda. And I don't think that fully works for Amarantha because she clearly has like a lot of hate in her heart. She doesn't want peace. She wants control. But maybe she also wants freedom. And so maybe she's going behind the King of Hybern's back to try and create Wordstone hearts that Valg can possess so that she can have her own army and go her own way and not be part of the King of Hybern's agenda. Maybe she's just a classic trying to usurp the throne.
So I just had a wild thought. I love this. I like this idea a lot. And it gets into if Valg and Asteria are the same things, but let's still park that for a second, right?
We need to park that. That's too big. We can't do that right now.
I know. It's definitely too big, right? But like, we have 7 High Lords, we have 7 Asteri, right? Well, we have 6 Asteri, but maybe at this point in time we had 7. Maybe Apollyon hadn't killed the last one, right? Like, and we know the Asteri are trying to get back to Prythian specifically, right? It's not just this world. Like, they want to get back to Prythian. They want to get back to, well, I don't know, but they're trying to get back to this world, right? Like,
yeah, this world that they lost. But then
this world that they lost.
The Asteri are the Daglin. Like, we know that they are the Daglin.
No, I know. I'm just calling them Asteri because that's the more familiar term.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is was she somehow like working with the Asteri because it's 7 and 7? And was this like a first step? Except that they never find, no, forget it. Cut all of this. Because they never find the Fae home world. They're still, well, everything I'm saying is nonsense. Right?
Where were you going?
I was going to say, like, is
she teaming up with the Asteri?
Are the 7 things she's waiting for the Asteri? Because we know the Asteri are trying to get back, but the Asteri don't find the Fae home, unless she's like a fanatic and waiting for them or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because are there 7 Stygian spiders? I don't remember there being a firm number on them.
I don't. Yeah. I also I thought they were plentiful. Maybe there were 7 in Throne of Glass, but I thought they were like their own species.
No, I think there's many.
Yeah.
But there's 7 Asteri. Right. I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe she's preparing something with her sisters. Like, hey, I'm going to take this one, Tamlin. He's going to be my partner here. And then you guys can choose amongst yourselves for the rest. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I like, that's why I think the Wordstone heart has merit. It's obviously like their hearts are stone. they're not occupied. And so, like, the magic and the rest of the High Lord's body is just keeping them kind of then. But maybe it was a preparation of
Well, that
sorts.
even points me more towards the Asteri, right? Because in theory, the Valg are already here.
True. Yeah.
Well,
but the Asteri don't need
theory.
The Asteri don't need to occupy.
We don't
right?
know. They don't need to occupy on Midgard, but Rigilus is a Fae, right? And he's clearly not actually a Fae. I'm still reworking through Crescent City, but I don't think we know for sure.
Yeah.
Like the Asteri appear as angels in Midgard, right? Like I don't know that that's their actual form, except for Rigilus, who appears as a Fae youth, right?
Yeah, true. I don't know. I haven't reread Crescent City yet, but I think my official stance based on what I know right now is preparative Wordstone Hearts for Amarantha to do something that was not just follow the King of Hybern's agenda. But the Wordstone Hearts were not occupied. And that's it. And my
official stance is maybe it's nothing and not Valg at all. Maybe she's a crazy fanatic awaiting the return of the Asteri. That's my stance.
Who knows? Yeah, I gotta go reread the Stygian Spider section of that. And it's like in Tower of Dawn or something too.
The Stygian Spider start in Tower of Dawn. But the Selene part is in Kingdom of Ash.
Yeah, right. All right. Anything else on that one?
I have a kind of tangent.
Sure.
There is this golden light that shines around Tamlin when he kills Amarantha. The quote is, Amarantha backed away from my corpse. She only whispered, please, before golden light exploded. And then Amarantha screeched, kicking at Tamlin, lashing at him with her dark magic. So dark magic, that is Valg. But a wall of gold encompassed his fur like a second skin. She couldn't touch him.
Yeah.
We do see this in Gavriel in Throne of Glass.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it's kind of not clear what Gavriel's power is, but it's kind of implied that he has healing power, but it's different than Irene's healing power because Irene's healing power is obviously white.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that Tamlin might be an offspring of Adian and Lysander, right? We don't think that, but people think that. If he is, and if he has this kind of gold version of this healing power, we know that Maeve kept her owls close, right? In case Erewhon came back, right? Is that what Amarantha is trying to do with Tamlin here? Is like keep him close because she knows he has this power. Yet another power that we don't really know about. But like, does he have a power that could defeat the Valg? But like, then again, none of this ever comes to fruition. Nothing ever happens here. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Or it hasn't yet.
Yeah. I like the Gavriel connection. I honestly, the way that I interpreted that is like we always are shown like Rhys's power is like ebony. I thought that Tamlin's power was just gold.
I know.
Like that was just the color of his power.
Well, it was the wall of gold encompassing his fur like a second skin. Gavriel does that to Fenris when he's healing him in the tent in Maeve's camp in Dornow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
Interesting. I like it. I do think that I think the Amarantha story it feels Maeve-esque in some regard. But
this is what we were talking about before, right?
Yeah.
When we were talking about comparing her to the best villain.
Yeah. Yes.
In the Sarah J. Maas world, right?
I like Maeve much better as a villain. Like, I just do. But I do think, they could have interesting parallels, and we just didn't get to learn as much of Amarantha's story yet.
But I agree with you. It's like Amarantha is like an echo of Maeve.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
would make sense if she's a Stygian spider.
Yeah, right. With motives that make her so much angrier and so much nastier, right? Like, she is avenging her sister. Like, Maeve is just trying to escape, like, an arranged marriage.
I know. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Ronnie, what is the spell book that Amarantha uses?
Yeah. Okay. So, I'll start off by saying I spent 2 hours reading about the books across these series, and I still don't feel like I'm done. I think we might need a books episode. Like, it's entirely possible. But I think we've got enough here. Amarantha stole a book of spells from the King of Hybern and used it to turn these High Lords' hearts to stone, effectively dampening all power in both the High Lords and their land, which I feel like we didn't really talk about yet, but like that is a clear signal that the High Lords' power, we know it's tied to the land because of Kalanmai, but like it's also tied to everything else. Like they are this like mecca of power for each of their courts. And so when their powers are diminished, everybody else's powers also seem to be diminished, which I think is interesting.
And it resides in their hearts too.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't have more to say about it, but
when Amarantha died, no one grabbed this book. Like no one grabbed it. And so it was returned to the King of Hybern, and then the King of Hybern uses it a few more times throughout the series. I have a list actually of the times I thought it might have been used that wasn't confirmed, but the most notable were to contain the inner circle's power in Hybern when they try to nullify the cauldron, and then to chain Elaine inside of his camp when Nesta scries for the cauldron, and then Nesta and Azriel come in to rescue Elaine. Those are two like clearly documented times when he uses the spellbook again. We've talked about Amarantha and her ties to potentially being a Stygian spider. We've also talked about the King of Hybern in a prior episode, seemingly also potentially being occupied by Valg hosts. They both have black eyes. They both die of beheading. There is another important spellbook in this universe that is tied to the Valg, and it's called The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is a book in Adarlan that Selena uses to learn how to use spells, word marks, understand word gates, a bunch of stuff. She mostly uses it like to unlock doors and learn about things, but notes that it has like irresponsibly powerful spells that could be used to raise the dead, to torture, to summon demons. And yeah, so The Walking Dead has a lot of potential. We see it briefly in Throne of Glass, and we know that somehow it ends up in, I'm hopping books here now, in Jezebel Roga's library.
I know.
It's called out by name alongside the Book of Breathings in Jezebel Roga's library. So I suspect that in the middle it was probably in the Great Library of Parthos, which was built by humans and later destroyed. We know that Jezebel Roga's books largely come rescued from this kind of burning library. My primary theory here is that the spell book that Amarantha stole from the King of Hybern is The Walking Dead. There's I can't stress enough how many books there are in this series. We've got the Book of Breathings, we've got like a bunch of other books that are called out, but The Walking Dead is tied to, if our other theories hold, right, tied to word stones, tied to word marks. It's a Valg book, right? It's in the universe of, sorry, it's in the kingdom of Adarlan where a Valg king is currently ruling, right? And so I think that it's The Walking Dead that Amarantha is using. But what do you think?
Unsurprisingly, don't be mad at me. I took a bit of a tangent here. I also agree it's probably The Walking Dead. It came down to me there were 3 possible books it could be. I did not spend 2 hours, but there are 4 books that are called out in Jezebel's library, right? The first one being The Walking Dead, as you just mentioned. Next one is the Book of Breathings. We know what this book is. It is not the Book of Breathings, right?
Yeah.
On the divine number, this feels related to hell. However, when you Google divine numbers, the numbers you get are 3 and 7. So I hear your Harry Potter call out, but I think the reason we keep seeing 7 is because it has something to do. I think this is all going to tie numbers to hell and divine numbers, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are 7 circles. Yeah.
There are 7 circles of hell. There are 7 princes of hell. We'll get to it. The Queen with Many Faces is the last book, and this feels like it's related to the mother or the 3-faced goddess. So I think I agree with you. It's probably The Walking Dead. I'm more interested in this question of why does she need to rely so heavily on this spell book? It seems like she has no powers of her own. So we get another quote, I think again from this pig lackey from the King of Hybern. Oh, and there are other things that this King of Hybern does with this spell book, just real quick. He creates the wards around his castles. You mentioned that. He breaks the wards around the library, right? So when the king's ravens show up, he says he must have like used a one-time spell from his spell book or something. He makes himself appear on the ship at Summer Court when he's actually in Hybern, right? So he's like fucking astral projecting out here with this spell book. And he can track Rhys's power with it, which we never really see again. But somehow whenever Rhys uses his powers, he can track it. So it seems like this book grants you a lot of power that Fae don't typically have, right? So we have a quote from one of the King of Hybern's lackeys. It says, I am here on a condition of immunity from the king. This also points to the idea that the king and Amarantha are not getting along, right? I am here on the condition of immunity. Like the king has granted me leave to come talk to you. I'm here on the condition of immunity from the king. If your lady thinks she's above the king because she rules this wretched land, she'll soon remember who can strip her powers away without spells and potions, right? Like, this to me sounds like Amarantha cannot really put up a fight against the king without his spell book. And Rhys even says like she couldn't really do anything without this spell book, right? Like the only reason that I haven't wiped her mind is because of her potions over me. The things she does with this spell book are trap the High Lord's power, trap Jurian's consciousness and make the High Lords have to obey her, right? I'm gonna talk about this idea. I know we talked about Amarantha being Valg. I'm wondering if she's actually a witch, right? Because Moore's definition in A Court of Silver Flames, Nesta asks Moore, what is the difference between a fairy and a witch? Moore says, witches amass power beyond their natural reserve. They use spells and archaic tools to harness more power to them than the cauldron allotted and use it for whatever they desire, good or ill, right? So that seems to be the definition of witch in this ACOTAR world. Obviously, in Throne of Glass, we have a different definition of witch, but we know that those witches in Throne of Glass also don't really have any power, right? Like the only power they have is the yielding when they die, right? So they are these magical beings, but they don't really have any power on their own. And as we started this episode talking about, she carves out Lucian's eye with her fingernail. With her fingernail, right?
Which would make her Iron Teeth.
Which would make her an Iron Teeth witch. I always feel
she
so
didn't
weird
have a yielding.
Iron Teeth witch. She did not have a wielding, but I think the yielding is a choice, right? So I just think this is like, I didn't put too much thought into this, but I just wanted to raise this as an option. This would explain why she doesn't seem to have very much power. The Blackbeak clan also has, Manon has gold eyes, but everyone else has black eyes, flecked with gold, right?
Yeah, and Manon is half broken, so.
Right. Amarantha has black eyes, right? So I'm just throwing this idea out there. Like, yeah, there's a lot of evidence that she's Valg, but like we could be getting set up for a witch reveal too. And I don't know what the fuck a witch in the ACOTAR universe is versus a witch in Throne of Glass versus a witch in Crescent City, right? Like they all seem to be slightly different. Maybe the witches in Crescent City and Throne of Glass are the same, but
I think if you're stacking reasons we might think Amarantha is a Stygian spider versus a witch, I think we have way more for Stygian spider. But I like the idea. I actually think the witches come up elsewhere in ACOTAR, and I don't want to like spoil future episodes, but I think we probably think the same things there. I think
there's
also
2 places where the Stygian spider comes up, and I think there's 2 places where the witch, like the Stygian spider, she has pincers, and she has black eyes. The witch, she has black eyes, and she tears out Lucian's eye with her fingernail.
Yeah, she died of her throat being ripped.
She did die of her throat being ripped out, but a witch would die from that too. Yeah, maybe she's not. Just tossing out ideas. This is just free association.
I'm good with it. I'm willing to roll with it. All right, she's maybe Blackbeak-esque. Another note that I had here on the spell book, and specifically the spells that were in it, I have a whole list of the times that I thought that that the spell book might be used not by her. But specifically, do you remember when Lucian said she gave a little bit more of Lucian's power back? How did she give just his power back? Like just that one piece.
And does he have a heart of stone? Look, Ron, I think the answer by why this episode is so all over the place is because there's just not much here. Like it's possible that this is just not.
Yeah, that she just has a spell book and it's fine.
Well, I think it's possible that this was the first book in a series and that this villain was perhaps not as well thought out as some other villains. But no, because we've written
but it was late after Throne of Glass.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, which she ties everything in Throne of Glass together within an inch of its life. Like, that book is a tight plot. It's big, but it's tight. There's one last thing with respect to this question, and we can probably talk about this now that I've spoken into the universe, so we might do a books episode, but there's this common thread of protecting books in all 3 series that I think is like one of our signals to like pay attention to the ties between these worlds. In ACOTAR, we learned that after the wall went up, the Fae burned the humans' libraries rather than let the humans have access to books with magic. This happened roughly 500 years before the events of ACOTAR, right? Call it 550. And Rhys specifically says most scholars had enough time to evacuate and winnow the books out. So again, like these people rescuing books, these Fae that are sympathizing with humans rescuing books. But if they didn't have time or the brute power, they had burned the libraries rather than let the humans access their precious information. And that's kind of where we learn that sometimes just the words of these spells are enough, right? And then in Crescent City, we have the Library of Parthos, obviously, which was destroyed by the Asteria and the Vernier. And Jessica protects the books that she can and escapes via that ship called the Griffin, and she founds Griffin Antiquities. This happens 15,000 years before the events of Crescent City. And then in Throne of Glass, too, like more subtle, but there are these purging fires that burned all books with magic 10 years before the events of the series. So there's this like continued thread of this like burning and protecting of books and words, and they all happen with like within varying timelines of their own universes. And I wonder whether that's relevant. I don't think we're going to talk about it here, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a thread to pull at for sure.
Cool. Okay.
Cool.
Abby.
All right. Last question.
Why is Amarantha's sigil a dragon?
All right. I'm going to be honest with you. I took most of this from a Reddit thread called SJM plus dragons because
Interesting.
was kind of at a loss here. So Amarantha's sigil is a sleeping dragon. We find this out because Lucian goes to help Feyre in her cell, and he gives her a cloak that he took off the guards, and the sigil on the cloak is a sleeping dragon. And you're like, hey, what the hell? There's no dragons in this world. This doesn't make any sense. There's a couple instances where we see dragons throughout the Maasverse. So the first one is in Throne of Glass in Kingdom of Ash. We have a quote from Maeve. I have seen many wars, sent my warriors to fight in them, end them. I have seen how destructive they are. The very glass you lay on comes from one of those wars, you know. This is when she's making Aelin fucking kneel in the glass. Terrible. From the glass mountains in the south. They were once sand dunes, but dragons burned them to glass during an ancient and bloody conflict. Some claim it's the hardest glass in the world, the most unyielding. I thought, given your own fire-breathing heritage, you might appreciate its origin. So, confirmed there used to be dragons in Aralea. Maeve simply continues, the dragons didn't survive that war and they never rose again. Her lips curved and Aelin knew Maeve had ensured it. Other fire wielders hunted and killed. She didn't know why she felt it then, the shred of sorrow for creatures that had not existed for untold centuries. So Maeve hunted down all of the dragons with the idea that the dragon fire, we know that the Valg don't like fire, right? So hunted down the dragons so that the fire wielders would not come after her. In Crescent City, we have Ariadne, who I completely forgot about, but thank you for reminding me. Ariadne, who is a dragon. She's not a shifter. She is a dragon. She is a dragon who can shift in human form, but she can't do it at will. So she just is a dragon who has a human form. We also get, at one point, I forget what book it is, Bryce gets a report about dragons. And it says, dragon fire is one of the few substances proven to harm the princes of hell. So there's proven dragon fire in this world. There are carvings of Fae slaying dragons in Avalon, which might mean that this was actually in Prythian, right? Because Avalon has all these ties to Prythian. It's like kind of very closely tied with the Fae homeworld. And in one of the Crescent City bonus chapters, Randall and Ember refer to Cassian and Azriel's wings as dragon wings, right? So those are kind of the dragon references we get in the larger world. And then in ACOTAR, we have obviously Amarantha's coat of arms. The other interesting thing is the Midgard worm. The way that worm is spelled, W-Y-R-M, that is actually typically considered a type of dragon rather than a worm, right? So I think it's like Welsh tradition or something, like a worm, W-Y-R-M, is a flightless dragon. I have no idea what any of this has to do with Amarantha. I am fucking stumped. I don't know. Do you have a theory?
I have some interesting thoughts. I do my best to tie them all together. I could talk through the connections that I think you've named almost all of the connections that I found, and I just organically did it, so I might be totally
Go for it.
Off, but we'll see. So the first was the Throne of Glass connection. I don't think you brought this up, but there are dragons on the library in Adarlan. And the quote is, they're walking towards the library, Selena and Kale, and Selena suddenly halts. She says, "What is that?" And she points at the 20-foot oak doors, her eyes widening at the dragons that grew out of either side of the stone wall. 4-legged dragons, not wyverns like those on the royal seal. And it's the library. And so this is another point too, is that book The Walking Dead, right? Because that's where we find it, is in the library in Adarlan. And that, to me, could tie Amarantha and really like this coat of arms is Amarantha's coat of arms, but is it Amarantha's or is it Hybern's? Like, we don't actually know, right? Either way, like, this could tie them to the Valg King that was ruling Adarlan at that time. You also mentioned, you mentioned Maeve. And then I like this way less. This one would upset me if it's a connection, but there's dragon imagery when it comes to Aelin, right? She wears this dress with this dragon sigil that kind of creeps up the back. And so I hate that because Amarantha's evil, but like, we do get dragon imagery when it comes to Maeve as well. And Rowan is like enthralled with it, right? And so could this be a connection to, what's that land? Dornell. Dornell, which is also where Maeve ruled. So 2 Valg ruled locations at that time. And then we have the Crescent City connection, which you mentioned, Ariadne. She is enslaved by the astronomer and kept in a ring. which is so interesting, right? Because that is what Amarantha does to Jurian's eye. Like, I don't feel like we've gotten anything so far that would mean that Amarantha could be like descended from dragons, or like maybe dragons were her army like at one point, I don't know. But like Ariadne she's like very dark coloring, her eyes are crimson, not black. Although I think at one point when she's like at rest, when she doesn't have like power quaking in her, she has dark eyes. But another thing that I thought was interesting is Ariadne is also the name of the daughter of King Minos of Crete, who helps Theseus escape the Minotaur. So you brought up Theseus with respect to that labyrinth that Amarantha set up. And so like King Minos is abandoned on Naxos by Theseus after King Minos helps him. So there's some ill will potentially with Minos and Ariadne against Theseus. And so that could pull on this kind of labyrinth connection as well.
Well, and Crete, right? Like Crete and Cretea and all that jazz.
And Cretea. Yeah, I didn't think about that part, but that's interesting. And how Miriam and Dracon kind of ran off to there. I think the connection I like the best of those is the one to the library and kind of linking her to the King of Adarlan. And that's also the world in which we see Stygian spiders, right? So it just like feels a little bit better if that's the thread that we're pulling. But I don't think we can, maybe it's just Sarah J. Maas being cute. But like the ring thing seems like a little bit of a flashlight, like a little bit of a signal, like, hey, look over here. But now she's dead, so who knows?
I hate this whole episode. It's like, but now she's dead. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done it, but whatever. It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, so this is why I was saying I don't know why this would be Amarantha's signal, because if she is Valg, why the fuck would she want to be around dragons, right? She would hate dragons. This would not work for her. But I guess the Valg army does build a wyvern army, so maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
Wait, can the wyvern breathe fire? I don't remember them actually ever doing that.
I haven't read it recently enough to say. I don't know. I
like maybe they
remember
can't.
them ripping stuff apart with their teeth, not.
Well, they're basically meant to replace the brooms. I don't know that they can breathe fire.
Yeah.
All right, we'll figure it out.
I don't know. It was a fun little rumination though, Amarantha's sigil.
Yeah.
Being a dragon. I like the Maeve connection too. Yeah.
Well, if she is a Stygian spider, is she not Maeve's handmaiden?
Maybe she is. And maybe she's...
Are they all Maeve's handmaidens?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember either. The ones in Aralea certainly are. But yeah, then she's like getting pointers from Maeve, maybe.
Yeah.
Except
or maybe
probably
she's
not.
Trying...
Right? Because Maeve can't. Maeve is desperately trying to not talk to other worlds.
Yeah, unless she's like trying to prime Prythian as a destination, but that wouldn't work because Valg are already... I like how I'm saying Valg are already there, as if there's no possibility that the King of Hybern is not Valg. Maybe none of them are Valg, except for Amarantha as a Stygian spider, and they're just preparing for Maeve to come to that world because Erewhon's fucking up her day.
Have you heard the theory that the King of Hybern is Dorian's little brother?
I've not, but that's interesting. Do we think that Dorian's little brother is for sure occupied, though? I know he was terrible.
Well,
but
if
like
Dorian
no one
wasn't occupied automatically, then I would think no.
Right. So then, like, I guess is the theory just that he like grew up and then...
I think the theory is he just grew up and became... I don't think it's that the King of Hybern is Valg at all. I think the theory is
it's just that the King of Hybern
is Dorian's brother.
Dorian's little brother.
Yeah. Like he wandered through worlds and ended up in Prythian. Sure, could be. Why not? This is at the very least a personality episode. I'm not sure we got anything here. I mean, Amarantha's a Stygian spider. Yeah, we got
It was fun. It was fun.
It was fun.
All right, what is your Precog corner theory?
All right, I think our last two... I definitely did an Amarantha theory last Precog corner, so I decided to not do an Amarantha theory this Precog corner, even though it's an Amarantha episode. But it is relevant to what we've been talking to.
Okay.
All right. So I just mentioned in the why is Amarantha's sigil a sleeping dragon question that one of the things that Bryce finds out is that dragonfire is one of the few substances proven to harm the princes of hell. We have a man, an Illyrian warrior in Prythian that many people think is a prince of hell or a son of a prince of hell. I'm, of course, referring to Azriel, who has very, very burnt hands, right? He has scars on his hands. Feyre remarks that it must have been something terrible to leave scars like that. We have not gotten the story of what that is, and we are not getting into right now whether or not we think he's a Prince of Hell. My precog theory, and this is totally out there, is that Azriel's hands were burned by dragon fire somehow. I don't know how, but like we get this tidbit in Crescent City. We have the theory that Azriel is a Prince of Hell. We know that whatever burned him must have been really, really terrible. So that's my theory. It's not my best.
Interesting. I mean, I feel like this whole episode was kind of off the wall, so I feel like it's fine if it's not the best. Interesting. But and I didn't reread this part, so shame on me, except I didn't think I would have to. Aren't we told exactly like how and in what manner Azriel is tortured?
I think we're told his brothers like held him down while they burnt his hands, but like we're not given the story from his point of view. I kind of assume if we haven't gotten the story from a first person point of view, like it's up for grabs.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with that.
Right. So like we know that his brothers like held him down, but I don't think we know the exact mechanism. I don't think we know the exact mechanisms of all that. I can go back and check. I also did not go back and check this because this was the theory that came to me during my run, and I was like, let me just jot it down real quick.
I like the that the burning was connected to something, because we don't have, I mean, and we wouldn't because we haven't gotten his book yet, but like we don't have much to exactly why he was like imprisoned and tortured, other than just like, you know, his parents didn't know what to make of the fact that he was a shadow singer. Like, yeah. But could they have known that he was at least hell adjacent and wanted to like prove it or disprove it?
Oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't even go there, but yeah, I mean, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
To be clear, okay. I don't think this dragon fire necessarily needs to have like come from a dragon's mouth. Like, yeah, I agree. Like, there are other things in other fantasy worlds where you can like capture dragon fire, right? So like, I think it could have been something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. What's your precog corner theory? You know what? Now that I think about it, this dragon sigil, I think you're right. I think it's just meant to make us think of Aelin, honestly, and show us that Amarantha is like from that world. That's all I think it is. Yeah.
But I also really like, I don't know, now I'm kind of stuck on the Ariadne connection. Like, what if this is crazy? So maybe it's appropriate that we're talking about it in this segment, but like, what if Amarantha is like, we don't know timelines in any of these, right? Like, yeah, we have more modern worlds and we have less modern worlds, but like we had Aelin surfacing within ACOTAR, and so who knows whether time and space is even like, whether time is actually a continuous thread between these worlds, or whether you can just kind of move in and out of them across planes of time. What if Amarantha is somehow related to Ariadne, and Ariadne maybe goes on to be some important character in Crescent City, and then she has this legacy of the fact that she was imprisoned in a ring and broke out, and so now Amarantha is like, I'm gonna imprison the human in a ring. Fuck the human. I don't know. That's a crazy theory. It's probably not true.
You know what? It just popped into my brain. That would be an even crazier theory, but that I could see given everything we've talked about. I have nothing to back this up. I want to be so clear. What if Jurian becomes the astronomer?
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like the flip, right? Is like Jurian is like, all right, fuck you, Amarantha. Like, I remember you and your dragon sigil, and I'm going to imprison this dragon in a ring. I don't know.
Again, I have nothing to back that up. Do not come for me.
Yeah, nor do I have anything to back up the opposite for Amarantha. Yeah, I mean, my precog corner theory originally was the Wordstone Hearts, and then I was like, there's no way we're not going to end up talking about the Wordstone Hearts when we talk about the Hearts of Stone. Precog corner, for those who are new, is theories that are so crazy that we don't even know if we really believe ourselves are true. But you mentioned earlier, so this throws out the idea of Amarantha being a Stygian spider, right? You mentioned earlier in the episode that Amarantha captures Rhys super early on during the Great War, and holds Rhys and tortures him, and it's like a big, like, it's an intentional thing. She's captured the son of the High Lord of the Night Court. He is him. He's an Illyrian, like, he looks like Rhys, and then she doesn't recognize him later, even though she's literally sleeping with him for 50 years. And so my precog corner theory is, what if this was pre-Amarantha occupation? Like, she was still terrible, she was still evil, but she was a different person, and then a Valg occupied her after the fact, and that is why the Amarantha that's speaking in A Court of Thorns and Roses does not remember Rhys, because it's not the same person speaking.
Yeah. Yes. Well, okay. I thought through this whole thing, because this is where I went back and forth. I'm like, is she Valg? Is she not Valg? There's no mention of a ring. There's no mention of a collar. She does wear a crown, I think.
Yeah.
But like, typically
We don't know
so
what her heart
typically in
is,
Throne
though.
of Glass. Exactly. She would have to have her heart have been replaced.
Yeah.
In which case...
Which she clearly knows how to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does fit. I don't know. We're all over the fucking place.
Whatever. Whatever. What are you reading? What are you reading?
She's dead, right? None of it matters. I'm just reading Crescent City, like I was last week.
Okay.
Which I've realized something funny about myself, and I totally own up to this. The first time I read a book, I just read it for the spice. I'm willing to admit that about myself. Like, I missed so much in the first half of Crescent City.
There was so little spice.
I mean, I missed so much in the first half of Crescent City because I was like, are these motherfuckers gonna have sex or what? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So I just kind of like tore through these chapters, and like now that I know when everything happens, I'm like, all right, I can read it for real this time. But yeah, so I'm getting way more. I'm like absorbing way more.
Yeah. I need to do a Crescent City reread. I've only read it once. I did read it slower than you. I feel like I picked up maybe a little bit more than you because I don't know.
Because
like,
you remembered that there was a dragon in Crescent City,
and
I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But I will acknowledge, and I feel okay going on record and acknowledging it. If I wasn't me, I would think there's way too much in Crescent City. Like, Crescent City is like an 1,800-page lore dump, basically. Just like, pop, like, here's a literal encyclopedia's worth of information that you have to keep track of and remember. I don't remember 70% of it, I guarantee you. Like,
yeah.
Why are everyone's names so similar? Why are there so many species? I don't even remember what species aligned to which house. Like, I need to write it all down.
Why are there
so much information?
The houses do not fucking matter at all. Like, not as far as I can tell. Why are there vampires? Like, it's the same thing where she has all these like threads that she starts and like doesn't really go anywhere with. I feel that way about Throne of Glass, if I'm being honest with you. I think Throne of Glass is way too fucking long with way too many threads, but we'll get there.
Throne of Glass has more distinct plot lines, but I feel like less world to absorb overall. Like, there is so much world in Crescent City, like species, cities, like people, so much. Like, Throne of Glass, there's a pretty defined set of characters from like halfway through the series through the end, except for you just have a random villain come out
and then like a lead shows up. I'm like, who the fuck is this bitch?
Okay, but they show up like, I guess the lead. When does the lead show up? I don't remember.
I feel like books 5 or 6. I don't remember.
Sure, but there's 8. So like,
yeah. Here's this, and I hate to keep harping on the same point, but I feel like it matters for both. Throne of Glass, she has a map, and she pretty much sticks to that map, except for book 7 when we get a new map, right? And like Crescent City, the map is only the city. And like, I don't know why, I just need this map to like ground me in the world. Like, I didn't realize until this read that Valbera and Pangera are different continents, right? Like, I just, like, that just completely went over my head. And I'm like, why are we doing, just draw me a map. Just draw me a fucking map.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I also just wonder, because I do this often, and every time I do it, I'm like, I don't know why I did this, because like she clearly isn't going to give us that much, but I'll like hold all the maps up and see whether anything like looks like it could be the same shape or like continuous into each other. And I feel like maybe that's why. She's so vague about her fucking maps.
You think this is all the same world?
I don't think it's all the same world. I think it's different realms, but I don't think that means that they can't be different planes of the same geometry necessarily. Specifically, Aurelia and Prythian.
Tell me more. Like, why do you think that?
I don't want to right now. Let's end this episode. This is I can't do this without... We'll do this later. Anyways, Ronnie, what are you reading? I am finishing Silver Flames still.
Great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did totally forget to ask you that question. I'm sorry. How are you liking Silver Flames?
Again, I mean, great. There's also like a bunch of stuff that I forgot about, like the Wild Hunt and like all of these.
Oh my god,
things.
I know.
So I'm just like, oh, there was a whole actually era where death gods were just hunting down Fae. Okay.
Well, is Lanthus a death god?
Well, I don't know. Why does he want Nesta to be his queen?
We'll get into
it.
it.
He was a death god. He might not need her.
I know. It's so sad. I really genuinely, it's the same with all these books. Oh my God, I just read these horny as a motherfucker and I just read for the spice and then I miss the entire fucking plot until I read it on a second read. It's so sad, but I know it about myself now.
Yeah.
So
you're facing it head on. So
I'm facing it head on. I'm gonna have to reread. I'm gonna finish Crescent City while we're doing this, and I'm probably just gonna start Throne of Glass all over again. But like Throne of Glass, you would think I would have absorbed more because like it's not spicy.
It's not spicy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard to follow,
though. It's the romance. It's the year.
Yeah. It's the slow burn, and there very much is still a slow burn in Throne of Glass. So
yeah.
All right. We are on social media. We are Dragons in the Details pod at gmail.com, and our handle on all social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Dragons in the Details pod. Please email us with theories, questions, comment on our posts. We do social media shout outs at the beginning of these. We've also done like kind of listener focused episodes before. And so we love to hear from you. We love to get your questions and theories, and your theories make ours better. So please do reach out, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps us out. Leave a review on Spotify or whatever podcasting platform you listen on if you feel so inclined. And we appreciate you listening. Love you. Bye.
Oh, love you. Bye.